Hello? 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 Oh, I'm online. All right, very good. So, yeah, somebody get out of the way real quick. I've been taking pictures with a lot of people today, and it's awesome. Had a lot of fun, but do me a solid. I've got to you guys take a picture with me this time, okay? All right, everybody say fun. Fun. Okay, cool. Thank you. I look forward to reviewing all the very, very kind gestures, I'm sure, that were in that picture. All right. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. So welcome to CitizenCon 2949. I know it's been going all day already, but I hope you guys had a lot of fun so far. And definitely stick around, of course, for the keynote at the end. So super excited to be with you guys today and have some exciting and interesting stuff to talk about. So over the years, I've been involved in a lot of things at CIG, and usually when you've seen me here at CitizenCon, I've come to talk about, new technology, some tools, maybe pipelines, methods to make all this kind of stuff. But today it's going to be a little bit different. So today I want to talk about a new game mode for Star Marine that we're calling Theaters of War. So up on stage with me, and at the end, is a lead FPS designer, Richard Tyre. And he's been instrumental in helping me build this game mode for Star Marine. And he's going to stick around to answer some questions during the Q&A at the end. So let's go over the agenda a little bit. So first, what we're going to talk about is sort of the electronic access and lore and what that really is all about. How AC and SM fit into it, how Theaters of War will fit into it. Then we're going to talk about what Theaters of War actually is. So we're going to explain what Theaters is, and kind of what the whole intent of the mode is, and pretty much why we made it. Next, we're actually going to talk about the map that we're playing here at CitizenCon today. So it's a scenario, it's basically a map, but it's called Crossroads of Crime, and I'll explain why it's called that. Then we'll go into the lore a little bit. Great lore team within the Star Citizen community. It's incredible the amount of lore that we have to actually pull from. Then we'll go into the actual game mode itself, Theaters of War. We'll do an overview, really just walk through each of the sort of phases, and this will make a lot of sense in a little bit. We'll talk about some of the new mechanics we brought online to make this a lot more fun. We'll talk about the vehicles, the character loadouts, and basically how you play the game. Then finally, we'll get into some future plans, when you guys are going to get your hands on it, and some of the features that we're still really wanting to work on before we roll out that game mode. Okay, so in Star Citizen, we have the concept of electronic access. And electronic access is like this simulator for all these different events that can go on within the universe. Basically, it's like an entertainment for the denizens of Star Citizen, for citizens. And it's really an important distinction because Arena Commander, Star Marine kind of exist under this umbrella. And because it's a simulation, we can kind of get away with some stuff that is a little more, quote-unquote gamey than it is in the persistent universe. In the persistent universe, things are a little more permanent, obviously with persistence. So Star Marine and Arena Commander were the first two to exist under this umbrella. And they made a lot of sense in their own regards. Arena Commander came out, test our flight. That is our core gameplay. So let's get the flight happening. Then we had the FPS, which was Star Marine. And now what we have is Theaters of War that kind of groups the two together. So I also contend that these simulations are a really good spot for us to be able to tell some lore in a really meaningful way and an interactive way so that you guys get to experience that lore in a way that's super memorable. So you can imagine it's kind of like a reenactment, like the Gettysburg battles or anything like that, that basically these guys go in, simulate, and play through. So now let's talk about the scenario or the theater that we built for CitizenCon.
We gotta take the space. I'll keep you updated as we go. We'll watch each other's back and come home in one piece. New plan. I think they're controlling it from that radar tower. I need all agents to focus on that. All teams. Redirecting you to take out that mining laser. Use ships or take it on foot. Whatever it takes. It's gotta go.
All right, so that gives you a quick preview of what's going on back in the war room here. So Theaters of War, this is the new objective-based game mode, and it's within Star Marine where the key focus is combined arms. We're putting everything together, and this mode really combines all the work we put into Star Marine, Arena Commander, Squadron, PU into one cohesive battle on foot, in vehicles, in the air, all working together to accomplish some common objective or to stop some common objective from being taken. And the idea is that this happens in some sort of historical Star Citizen setting, a story from our lore. So ultimately, Star Citizen hasn't just always been an FPS or just an arena shooter on its own. It's really more accurately described as the ultimate in sandbox gameplay. You've got all kinds of vehicles, all kinds of weapons, so let's put them together and let's have some fun. So really, why did we build this, right? Well, at some point in the PU, we are going to get to that level of combat going on. Now, you know, the combat in the PU happens a little more sparsely, and it has to do a little bit with the player counts, but the minute that we put all this stuff together, this better be fun. We can't make it fun after the fact. It's got to be fun before. So it really gives us a really, really solid analytical environment to really hone the gameplay, balance things against each other. So again, how many shots does it take of a railgun to take down an Ursa? How many Ursa shots does it take down to take a Valkyrie? All of these things, they do happen in the PU, but a little more sparsely. And it can take some time. So having said that, when combat occurs, it's really got to be fun. So to reiterate the key points, you know, Theaters of War is another game mode like Elimination or Last Stand in Star Marine. So, and again, combined arms, everything's in play. So what do we want to achieve with this? Well, we want to be able to balance all this. We also want to give you a solid 30-minute experience where you can come in, have some fun, and get out. In the times when we're all so busy, you can't always play for 3 hours. You can't always play for 4 hours. We need actually a real quick, arcadey kind of combat, but not different than Star Citizen. It's got to be the same. And that's a really key point here. We didn't develop really anything drastically new for this. This is using the exact same assets from the PU, same balance, same everything. And if anything, we've taken a lot of the stuff that we've found within Theaters of War, that we found on Fun, and we apply it to the PU from there. So it gives us a really good spot to be able to do all that. So how does Theaters of War fit in right now? Well, that was... Actually, how does Crossroads of Crime fit into Theaters of War? Okay, so what's Crossroads of Crime? That's actually the name of the map. That's the name of the scenario. So I want to kind of give you a little bit of a brief of that scenario. Now, I'm not nearly as good at telling these stories as the lore team is, but I'm going to give you a little bit of what they fed me. So we went through our lore and we went, where's some really exciting sort of combat happening within the history of Star Citizen in the last 100 years, 200 years, 300 years before the present day PU. And we found this great story. And the story takes place in the Nexus system. So in the Nexus system, there's a notorious outlaw gang, and there's a lot of outlaw gangs within the Nexus system, but this particular one is specifically aggressive. So the Supreme is the name of the outlaw gang in this particular one, and they're facing off against an elite advocacy squad that has come to retake one of the planets. So to give you some backstory on the Nexus system was totally unclaimed. The Hathor group, which was a mining group, came in, but all they really cared about was mining. So as long as profits were being made, they totally looked the other way. And what that sort of evolved into was a really perfect sort of petri dish for a ton of crime. And in the end, Hathor group strip mined the entire area, pulled out, and just left it as it was. And that obviously devolved into something pretty criminal. So with that, pretty much anybody that's doing anything bad in the universe is going to have some time crossing through the Nexus system, and that's where the moniker, the Crossroads of Crime, came from. So over time, the advocacy, or UEE specifically, said, we can't just leave this alone, and the advocacy, being more or less the interstellar police force, went in to retake the system. So rather than give it up, the Supreme would rather see the whole thing destroyed, they're of this nature, before giving it up to the advocacy. One of the interesting sort of identifying things about the Supreme is that though they're super aggressive, they kind of take all comers, and they're not super well educated. So what you'll notice is that as the Supreme took over the base from the Hathor group, they actually use like pictograms and signs because not all their guys can read. It's kind of an interesting backstory to these guys, but though they can't read, they also use these pictograms to actually throw off the enemy, which is super interesting. So let's give you a bit of an overview of Theaters of War. So again, we're applying a lot of the player feedback that we've heard from Star Marine, from PU, and from all the different sort of Arena Commander matches that we've seen, and I'll get into some of the details of those later, but it really, again, has forced us to kind of look at things. One of the great ones that has come from Theaters of War that you guys are going to see in 3.8, it sounds simple, but it was really obvious that the animations need to be sped up. I mean, when we were mantling over things, the guy is just not much of a sense of urgency. There was kind of, climbing over things. He was just taking his time. Reloads, much faster. Getting into ships. When you're under fire, getting into a ship can't take 15 seconds. You're going to die on your way into the ship. The other stuff was, all our FPS weapons, they were really balanced with, kind of the I don't want to call them legacy because they're still around, but our Star Marine maps that are really, really tight interiors. So you really only have ranges of like 20, 50 meters. Attachments didn't really matter. What's really the difference between a shotgun and an assault rifle at, 20 or 50 meters? Putting the environment so that you in a compound that started to be 100, 200 meters is much, much better. Okay, so again, the idea was that we give a 30-minute experience that was chock full of combat, right in your face, straight away. So let's give an overview of this game mode. So the mode is split into 3 distinct phases. It's basically, in this particular scenario, you have 3 distinct combat environments that are going to happen. In total, the game mode's meant to be 30 minutes, and right now we've got 20 on 20. In this one, we've got phase 1 is disable the AA turrets. Now, it's a ground-based battle. You've got some ground vehicles that are actually supporting the attacking team in this scenario, but the first things first, they've got to take down the AA turrets to bring in the ships. In phase 2, you've got to destroy a radar tower. After you've taken phase 1, the Supreme actually activate a mining laser because they're not going to give up this planet. If they're going to lose, they're going to try to destroy the entire planet. So you got to destroy that radar tower, which is controlling the mining laser. And then finally, I'll talk about some of the vehicles in this one. We've got a lot, it's a huge area. So we go from phase 1, which is sort of the 200, 300 meter combat, with some interior combat, to this almost 4-kilometer traversal, where the defenders have a lot more ships and the attackers have a lot more ground vehicles. So we get this great interchange of those vehicles. And things like, say, the ballista, which is, not probably the most exciting thing to play in the PU right now, because, I mean, if you get into one, you could probably have a seat on a planet and just, wait. But in this mode, the ballista is the king. That will keep those ships away real quick. And then finally, we transition from a ground-based and low, definitely low atmosphere, to upper atmosphere and in space. So you get to transition between some atmosphere flight and some space flight, where the objective is to destroy the mining laser. One of the things I want to mention before I get too deep into that is that it's all seamless, right? We've got this technology to be able to do this, so why not use it to our massive advantage and not put any loading screens in between or anything? That combat is completely seamless as you go through this entire thing. So from ground to air to space. And this can go even further. The templates that we've built for this, you can go between, you could make a map an entire solar system. I mean, you could be going to a planet in the distance. You can do it between a planet and a moon. You can do it between 2 moons. You could even do it between 2 solar systems. It's a crazy amount of technology that we have access to here, and all it needs is a little bit of structure. So when you load into the game, this is what you're seeing. This is our new spawning interface for this particular mode. Now, it makes a lot of sense for this mode. And what you're seeing up there is you see some control points, or some spawn points, and each spawn point sort of has a different role. Some of them are infantry spawn points, some of them are vehicles, but you don't just spawn beside the vehicle. You're going to spawn in the seat, and you get to select which seat you're going to spawn into. So if you want to spawn straight into a gunner seat, you want to spawn straight into a transport seat in a hoplite, you can do that. On top of that, you'll notice that there's also a selection at the bottom. We've got a preset selection. Now, I don't like to call them classes because they're more like presets. We don't really have a class-based thing within Star Citizen. What we have is whole sets of equipment that just do different things. And yeah, you want to call them classes, but in the end, I want to be able to update, change the primary weapon, change the secondary weapon, and these kind of things. But we've got 4 within this mode. So let's talk about that. So here's all the characters that we're actually using within the Crossroads of Crime right now. The white, and they're meant to have a little gold on them, is the advocacy. So you guys will see that once it releases. And then the red are the Supreme. So again, there's 4 different presets to choose from, and each of them kind of aim to provide this variety of combat and really roles, just fulfilling certain roles within the mode. One of the more interesting things is the teams have asymmetrical loadouts, meaning there's not the same weapon. So assault on one team is not the same as assault on the other team. This makes a lot of sense within the lore because, again, advocacy is coming from the UEE. They're going to have their weapons manufactured by Bearing. They're going to use more ballistic-type weapons, whereas the Supreme are going to have a little crazier-type weapons. They're going to have, some KSAR weapons. They're going to have energy-level weapons. The other thing to mention is that, between the foot soldier and assault, you might say, what's really the difference between a foot soldier and assault? In this mode, there is a very real difference between somebody that's got a shotgun and close-range weapons. They're going to be able to take out the interiors of these buildings really, really quickly. Whereas a foot soldier is much more all-rounder. He's like a rifleman within the infantry. Then you got snipers, which is pretty self-explanatory, I hope. And then we've got an anti-vehicle. And again, a little bit of asymmetry between the 2 teams. On the advocacy side, these use the Animus rocket launcher. And then on the Supreme, these ones use the railgun. So what vehicles do we got? We're all excited about the vehicles. So they range from fighting vehicles to transport vehicles. So we've got, these are all the vehicles that are actually in the mode right now, and we tried a ton of them, right? We actually even started with the Valkyrie, and we will get the Valkyrie back in, but for right now, it wasn't making a lot of sense. It's actually super duper powerful. It's got a lot of health on it, and again, this is why we're balancing this stuff. So you got the Cyclone, you've got the Ursa Rover, and just to note, and I'll talk about it a little bit, the Ursa Rover acts as a mobile spawn point within our Crossroads of Crime, our theaters of war. Then finally, like I talked about, the Ballista. The ballista just completely surprised all of us, right? Because it became so important. It is the strongest anti-air ground vehicle that we have, and it really gives it a reason to exist in this particular mode. Again, it's a great vehicle, and in the PU it will be very, very meaningful, but right now, it's not. So we've got some great ships as well. The Buccaneer. This one is really cleaning up right now in that. And just to mention, we are getting statistics of what's happening in the war room right now. And just to give you an idea, the thing with the most kills right now are the Buccaneers and the Ursas. So then we have some Arrows, the Hornet, and then finally we even have a dropship. So we replaced the Valkyrie with the Vanguard Hoplite. So all of these you'd use to take the fight to the enemy. So what goes on in Phase 1? So you saw a little bit of that on the video, but Phase 1 is disable the AA turrets. So in this phase, the advocacy come to take over the laptops, and you'll recognize the laptops from Star Marine. We didn't just make anything new. We didn't have to. You take over the laptops to take over the AA guns from the base. Excuse me. And as soon as that's achieved, the AA guns are shut down, and you can now bring ships in for what is Phase 2. I want to talk a little bit about the gameplay, and I keep kind of mentioning sort of the compound-like gameplay. So in this compound, you've got some interiors, but a lot of the combat happens in the exteriors. Once you've got one of the control points, you're going to end up having to transition over a whole yard that's got a lot of destroyed ships and things like this to go over it. So there's great sniping spots. There's a lot of defensive spots for the defenders because the attackers in this particular mode have 2 Ursa rovers and 1 Cyclone. So they can actually motor right in, and the defenders have to keep an eye on basically those Ursas because they can be used to spawn a lot of infantry. And on the Supreme side, so for the defenders, they don't have any vehicles on this one, so this can be really fun. Once we transition from that, once the AA guns are taken out, the Supreme are pushed back to their control tower. So they don't want them to take the base, they activate the mining laser at that moment. So the objective for Phase 2 is to destroy the ground-based radar. There's 2 ways to achieve this, and this is one of the new mechanics that we've had. First, you can just shoot it. That's easy. You use missiles, you can lock onto it, you use your guns, you can ram into it. I mean, whatever you can do. You can do some damage to that tower. But there's a way for infantry to help as well. It's on top of a compound, and within that compound is a laptop that's actually hooked up to the control tower. And in that control, if you take over that laptop, you can overcharge it, which basically does like a 20-25% damage to the given objective. So infantry can help, but it's hard to get in that outpost. So the Supreme at this moment are given ships, and this is a great, great traversal that happens. As you can see sort of on the image there, we've got a huge traversal where this is the end of Phase 1, right, to the outpost. It's about 3 kilometers. So the defenders, they have, I think, 8 Buccaneers. It could be, we change the numbers all the time according to balance, but it's between 8 and 10 Buccaneers. And again, as a defending force, that's pretty powerful, but the attacking force has 2 ballistas, 3 Hornets, 4 rovers, and 2 Cyclones. So there's a lot of vehicle combat happening now. And don't forget, you can spawn in these Ursa rovers as they transition this phase. And then additionally, because of the ballistas, the ships really have to pay attention. So finally, in Phase 3, you're actually going to the upper atmosphere, and we literally go straight up from the control tower. So the objective for Phase 3 is to destroy the mining laser head. And basically, it's the same way as achieving, well, mechanically anyways, the objective within Phase 2, you basically have to destroy this mining laser head. And again, shoot it, shoot missiles at it, crash into it. But we've also got the laptops. Now, we changed it up a little bit because we put 3 of these all throughout the station. So this lets the advocacy move around a little bit because there's going to be a cooldown on these given laptops. So as soon as you get to that laptop, you can overcharge it, do some damage to the station, and move on to the next laptop if you can. So it keeps the defenders moving around a lot. So once destroyed, the attackers have won the round. Or, if they haven't, they've lost the round. The defenders, all they have to do is stop them from destroying this illegally appropriated stronghold. Or not. Okay, so I can hear the live streams now. I can hear them. They're going, go, you got to finish the game, though. You got to finish that game and that game. So want to explain that we really didn't have to put much into this. Now, in terms of work, it was over about 6 to 8 months, but we really only added a couple new mechanics and put some light structure around this. So some of the new mechanics we added, lock spawn points. So I didn't mention it on the phase breakdown, but in each phase we have this little locked spawn point. And all this is it's a spawn point for the infantry because it's a little bit further up. But all you have to do is walk into the volume and you take it. So if the defenders are really smart, they're going to try to defend that even more than the objective, because as soon as that's lost, it's the beginning and the end in that phase usually. So these also coexist with what I talked about before, mobile spawn points. So that's the Ursa. You can take the Ursa up, you can go hide it, you can try to drive it right into the outpost. You know, it's really up to you how you want to play that, but even on the spawn screen, you will see that that Ursa is in a good location and you're going to want to spawn there. So all the players really need to do is find the right spawn point and take care of their objective. So, back in that war room anyways, it's just out the back, we've been playing for the last, I think about 6 hours here. We've had a bunch of sessions come through, and the feedback has been great. There's been having a lot of fun within it. People are understanding the game right away. There's a lot of readability that's already been built into this so that people understand what to do and where to go. So we took a quick video of sort of the reactions of some of the guys in there. All right, so it just shows you all the PCs. So we got 40 PCs set up within there. And everybody's coming in. We play for about 40 minutes. We change the sides. We play for 20 minutes. Then we switch sides, and then we play for another 20 minutes. Now, what's been really fun about this is people are talking mad to each other, right? They're yelling at the enemy. We've got them on comms so they can talk to each other. And it's actually been really, really fun. The energy is fantastic. You can see that people are really enjoying being able to get that sort of 30-minute adrenaline-packed, high-octane kind of experience right in your face. There was a great moment where somebody was yelling out, Demo 55, you got to get better. And the guy was like, well, raise your landing gear and learn to lock on. You know, you can really tell the good pilots from the bad pilots, by the way. So if you want to look really good, make sure you raise your landing gear. We thought about making it automatic, but I'm like, no, I like to be able to tell if somebody's really good in the ships or not, because as they're flying around, they'll either lift it up, and if it's not, I'm like, I'm going to get him. He's easy, you know. So it's been a lot of fun, and the feedback's great. And the whole reason we made this thing at this time was I wanted to bring it to CitizenCon. I wanted to bring it to CitizenCon because I wanted to talk to you guys about it. I wanted to talk to you guys about it because I want to find out from you what's fun. I wanted that feedback. And the feedback's been fantastic. Everybody's got something to say about it, and it's usually very positive. But there was one grumpy guy on the way out one time. He was like, well, I still die lots, and he walked out. So, I mean, can't please everybody. All right. So we've sort of gone over all this, but now I want to tell you when it's going to be in your hands, because this is, a lot of talk. Now, you can play it right now at CitizenCon, and it's in a good state right now. I'm pretty happy with it. Now, one of the things that I tried really, really hard to do here was to take fun first. And CIG, I mean, as you guys know, we love our visuals. We can make beautiful things. And you've seen Planetech V4, you've seen some of the technology that we've got. We can make stuff beautiful, but not first. Let's make it fun first, and then make it beautiful, right? Because that's fun, but we don't want to make it beautiful, keep changing it, make it beautiful again, make it beautiful again. Let's just use some boxes. Thanks. So, just to give you an idea, I mean, I was talking to one of the senior lead environment artists, and he was like, man, I didn't know if you were going to get it here. I saw that map 2 months ago or 3 months ago. I don't know. So it's not, the culture definitely at CIG is our visuals, but we have to be sure that we're fun too. And that map was really just white boxes. That was most of the time it was the same wall piece copied thousands of times all over the map just to get the placement of everything right. And we would switch it, we would move spawn points. So we iterated massively on it with tons of play testing. And again, you could do this when you're in a sort of 30-minute, 40-minute kind of mode where you could iterate on it in that way. And then once we got closer to CitizenCon, we're like, okay, now make it really beautiful. Let's go, right? And we've had maybe about a month and a half, 2 months of real solid art time on it now. And I need a little bit more. I need a little bit more just to make that to the level that you guys have come to expect of us, but we got to keep the performance up because, again, the gameplay has to come first with this particular mode. So enough of that. Anyways, having the mode playable for CitizenCon, I wanted to get a bunch of feedback from you guys. And pending the CitizenCon feedback, there was a lot of different things that people came up with. There were some great ideas, actually, that I think we should be implementing. It's going to be in an upcoming release. So it's going to be early next year, I want to go to Evocati. And early next year, I want to get it out. There's no reason to hold this back, right? We want to play this really, really quick. So I want to get you guys into it early next year. So what else are we going to do? Well, we got work on the netcode. Obviously, everybody's going to go, oh, well, we got this 250 millisecond delay or whatever it is. Luckily, part of my pillar, part of my job anyways, as I've got the technical content side and we've got the combat pillar side, along with Rich, we run the combat pillar, which has the network engineers that, not just the network engineer, gameplay kind of network engineer that will work on this. So he works on the upstream refactor, the downstream refactor, and the netcode rework for hit registration on the server. So this will make everything much, much better. In terms of the mode itself, though, because it's so tight in terms, like against the PU, it's actually not, we haven't really had any major problems with it. And because it's vehicle-oriented, in a lot of cases, we haven't really seen much issues. So the other thing we're going to do is some lobby system updates. Lobby system updates really mean matchmaking. That's the big thing for me. Me and the Turbulent guys have talked about it, as well as Tony Zurovec, and we've always talking about our contact system, the fact that we've got like 3 different friends databases that are all over the place, and then there's one on the front end, and you got to handshake them, and it's all really crazy. So there's no reason that it shouldn't be just one seamless kind of friends or group experience from Spectrum all the way down to the game. Why it's separate makes no sense at all. Not for you guys, not for us. We don't like it either. So we want to fix that. So what that's going to do, it's going to make it much easier to play with your friends and join up and get in the game right away. Because again, I thought to myself, okay, my son is 4 years old, and he's starting to play some of these Switch games. He's playing a lot of these Lego games with me, and I really want to play Star Citizen with him, and I can sit and play Star Citizen with him, but I wanted to put him in front of it and just leave him alone. And, at 4, probably not, but maybe 6, I don't know. It should be pretty soon. So it's really important to me. Also, squads. That's something else I want to bring into this. Is a really important component of it. Like, though we're going to have VoIP within it, and I'll talk about that in a second, I do want people to be able to play together in a really, really meaningful way. So form up in a squad, hell, on Spectrum, and just end up in the game within that same squad. Bring people in and out, whatever it is. So the next thing is kind of some VoIP stuff. I'm pretty sure you guys noticed, but in Arena Commander and Star Marine, and now Theaters of War, there's no chat. There's no chat. You can't talk shit to the. Oh, I'm sorry. You can't talk badly to the enemy team, right? You can't say anything to them. Actually, you can kind of use the emotes and everything, which is fine. But we need some basic chat, oh my goodness. So we're gonna get that integrated, we've been working on that. But it's also gonna bring the group and VoIP support. And what's really cool about it is something that always frustrates me in any kind of combined arms game or any game that has a cooperative kind of vehicle, is I'll get in the gunner seat and I can't tell the driver how bad he's driving, right? So with the PU, you guys have had this experience already. There's the concept of, the ship channels. And we have the exact same concept for Theaters of War. When you jump in an Ursa, you're going to be able to talk to that driver because you're within that channel with him. So you can say, driver, whatever, right? Or you're doing a great job, I'm sure. The other thing, we'll have global proximity. So basically, you should be able to hear them talking to each other at distance, because this isn't the only scenario we'll make. There'll be scenarios that make a lot more sense so that the global proximity stuff will make a meaningful difference. We'll have the team groups and the vehicle groups, as I mentioned. So I want to make a couple updates to this. One of the things you might have noticed, even in the video, in the poll out especially, now that you guys have seen Planet V4 tech, You look at the V3 stuff and you're like, ooh. So I looked at it and I went, ooh. So I want to get Planet V4 onto this before it gets out to you guys. I think that's a really good thing to do. It allows us to vary the terrain a lot more. And if anything, that's really my only complaint artistically is that the terrain is really quite flat anyways. So we're going to do that. We want to update some of the vehicles on there, just pending the analytics sort of reviews. And the other thing I want to get in there is basically we have a briefing video that's running. I want to get that all in-game. And then in the end, I'd like a real climactic ending to that station coming down. I think we'll do something pretty exciting if you win that round, or if you defend it. So I'd like to have something pretty exciting happening at the end. So we'll make some art updates, but this is kind of the fun, polished stuff that I like to keep to the end. We do this because we know it's fun already. On top of trying new vehicles and potentially even shifting locations around just based on the feedback. Whoa, that's too big in my notes. All right, so lots of people helped. Now, this was really easy and fun thing to actually work on. It's a lot easier for the developer to be able to spin up a thing in that's a 30-minute round. We've got 40 people playing. You can play test every day in a really meaningful way, but it's very analytical, like we're doing the same round over and over. So we know exactly what's happening, but we're having the right conversations now, and that's what really excites me about this, is hey man, the railgun can actually shoot through the glass of the rover into a passenger seat in the back. I'm like, whoa, you can? Okay, we should probably fix that. Somebody told me a great story about they couldn't get an angle on the Ursa driver. So they had, the driver had left the door open, and he ran in the back, and he couldn't get an angle on him with his rifle, and he just, grenade, got him, cool. Go in. So these are the good conversations to be having. These are actual gameplay conversations. There's things like, hey, the Animus is really too strong. Somebody can sit right beside an ammo crate and just sit there and defend the entire point themselves. These are the right conversations to be having, rather than it just working. So, some big special thanks have to go out to Richard Tyre, who you'll see in a second here, Milan Paycheck, who I wouldn't have been able to do any of this PowerPoint stuff, and he's incredible, Tom, Forrest, Johnny, Jens, Clive, I'm sorry the stream is so far behind, okay? Rob Johnson, Thorsten, Stephen, Michael, Nick Piers, Lee Wood, the actor feature team, lead programmers around here somewhere, Jens Lind. So the character art and tech team, they got really involved, which was great because the characters look fantastic. We made them nice and bright so people could see them on the map, which is really important. The QA team, obviously, so we've been doing these 40-person play tests every Wednesday for a while now, for the last 6 months at least. And then all the other developers involved, and I don't know where the camera is, but you guys know who you are. And thank you, guys. Okay. So now we'll proceed to the Q&A with whatever time we got left. We got Richard Tyre over there. I think I'm just going to march over there. All right, very good. So thank you guys so much. And to the guys that didn't get to play it, I'm really sorry that we only had 280 slots today. One of I just want to explain the reason why we did this. I've done a lot of E3s and Gamescoms and stuff like this, and when they do this big lineup, you never know if you're going to have enough time to play. There's other things that you want to be doing. We had talks throughout the day, so I thought it was much better that we had a bit of a schedule, or that you signed up for slots rather than kind of trying to get as many people through as absolutely possible. So I'm sorry you might not have got to play it. We'll try to reveal as much as we can, but I'm going to get into your guys' hands as soon as I can. So thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Sean. We've actually got Ulf in the war room right now. Ulf, what's going on?
Hey, Jared. Thank you very much for that great presentation, Sean. I'm here in the war room where we pitched 20 attackers against 20 defenders, battling it out. And I actually got someone who just played the new game mode, Mad Rambo. Hey, man, how did you like the new mode?
I loved it. I think it is much needed, and it's going to implement more things for all combat.
The most important question first, did you win?
Yes.
All right.
Quite easily.
Oh, did you know? Okay. And what was your favorite part about the new mode?
I think it's more to do with the ships, vehicles, and boots on the ground.
Right.
All together as one.
Okay. Did you enjoy the ground combat, the ground vehicle combat, or the air combat the most?
Surprisingly, being a pilot, and I don't normally go on the ground, I was on the ground all the time, and I found it really satisfactory.
Okay, very good. And do you think it is easy to get into the mode because it's a very new game mode?
Yeah,
you just saw a video and then we threw you into it.
Yeah, it's literally just straight through the Star Marine. It's exactly the same way as normal ones.
Right, very good. And what was was it easier to defend or was it easier to attack?
I think it was probably easier to defend, especially phase 1.
Right. And how was the team communication going?
The team communication was really good, apart from we had to keep a couple of people quiet.
All right. And like every team, the defenders and the attackers, they do have specific spawn points, they do have specific loadouts, they do have specific vehicles they can use.
Yeah, so there is certain vehicles you can use. I mean, there's a ballista in there, which using it in this game mode is going to be really, really good. Specific loadouts, I'm sure we might be able to change that at some point. And yeah, it was just everything combined as one. It was really good.
Right. And I heard that you had a that you killed a ballista with the SMG.
Yes, I did. I killed a ballista with an SMG. It took a while. It took a bit of help from everyone else, but I got the kill.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much for the feedback. So we're gonna throw it over to the live Q&A now. So back to the main stage.
Thank you so much, Ulf. Now, just like before, there's already a list of people. All right. Well, so, guys, we have about 10 minutes to use questions. So I don't know who's first. I can't see who's first. Start talking.
Sean, you're breathtaking.
Oh, wow.
And I wouldn't worry too much about Twitch chat either. I've dealt with them for a while, and they don't know what they're talking about ever, so it's fine. I had a chance to play the new game mode earlier, and first of all, congratulations. It was absolutely brilliant.
Thank you.
I loved it, and it was maybe one of the single most impressive gameplay experiences I've had in Star Citizen since the hangar was released. It's absolutely incredible.
Awesome.
Thank you.
You know the importance and potential of game modes like this, while the PU sort of gestates how much fun can be had, true Star Citizen experience can be had in these. This is a great example of it. Now, Arena Commander and Star Marine sort of languished for a while without much love until very recently. Is there a plan to update and maintain the content for gameplay modes like this in the future going forward?
Yep. And actually, the exact same team that worked on Theater of War within this combat pillar was the one that brought you the Good Doctor. So actually, during this time, we just built another map on Planet Side. And a lot of the stuff we were doing in theaters, we were just like, all right, well, let's try this in another map. We built that other map up. And again, like, it's so much of this exists already. It doesn't take a ton of doing for us to get it in, because we're not spending a ton of resources on it, and it helps the PU, it helps Squadron, it helps that whole gameplay scenario. So let me get back to actually the content on Arena Commander and Star Marine. Because we've got some resources on it, and they've really been trained up, and they all fully understand what's going on within each one, we want to make all these updates and apply them to this. So things like the lobby rework and all of these are going to benefit Star Marine and Arena Commander. And I've got some I've got some plans for Arena Commander that I think you guys will really like. I'm not ready to talk about them today. I'm still pitching them to Chris and going, come on. And I think at some point you'll be quite happy. But yes, we are keeping some focus on that. But the really, really, really important part, and it's really important to understand, I'm not saying the PU isn't fun at all. There is different types of gameplay. Star Citizen's a big game. You've got mining, you've got exploration, we've got a lot of non-combat kind of activities, which is fun. It's just hard to coexist that, balance that, work on it, really hone it to the state that it needs to be when it's not the primary focus of the given mode, if that makes any sense. So now that it is the primary focus for this given team anyways, this given pillar, I think you'll see some big improvements. And I hope you've felt those over the last 6 months to 9 months as long as we've been working on it.
Thank you, and well done again.
Thank you. Richard, why is this relevant to the PU?
Well, first off is all of the systems that are in the PU in terms of the animations, in terms of getting into and out of ships, weapon swapping, interacting, player interaction system, all of that stuff underpins this game mode. So the game mode is the wrapper that sits on top, and everything that goes into it below it, all the foundation, comes from the PU. So when we get that in there, and anything we improve on it, in terms of the animation speed-ups, getting in and out of ships in combat is too slow, or weapon swapping in terms of interacting, just opening doors and things. So all of that's stuff we want to improve. And that's the foundation of everything. across all gameplay, all, Squadron, PU, Star Marine, Arena Commander. When you're flying ships, all of that we want to make better. And this gives us, to use Sean's term, the petri dish.
Right.
It gives us that focus that we can really hone down and absolutely improve it.
It gives us that quickly repeatable access
Yes.
to all these fundamental game systems without having to fly from Olisar to Microtech, around.
And to be honest, we see it with devs coming up. It's like, oh, when's the playtest? Yeah, can I get in on that? And yeah, we're like, yeah, sure, yeah, jump on in, So it's fantastic to see. It's revitalizing for us, and it's also something that we can really focus and really see quick turnaround and improvements, and get that improvement, and that's only going to benefit everyone.
I see this harkening back to the original mission statement of Arena Commander and Star Marine.
100%.
Yeah.
Who's next?
Hi, just a quick question. What's the plan for aim assist? The long-term plan for aim assist. You've introduced it. I'm curious what you guys think of it and what's your plan for it for the future?
We've got our opinions on it.
Yeah.
I can share our opinions. I can't share the plans.
Okay.
If
I
that's fair.
think one thing to talk about in terms of aim assist is, the reasoning behind why we require it. And, Sean touched on it in terms of the networking. We've got some guys working on the upstreaming and downstreaming and actually making that, because obviously combat over the network, it's got to go, I shoot the gun, it's then got to go up to the server from my client, and then it's go from the server to somebody else's client. So we want to make sure that the networking is absolutely on point. And then, I think that's when we can start talking.
Then we have that
aim
debate
assist
proper.
And, do we need it? How does that impact the rest of it? So I think that's where we're at with it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Who's next?
So, will the theatres of war have a day-night cycle or an environment weather cycle?
I wanted it in.
Yes,
I
we
wanted
really
it
wanted
in.
it,
We have a bug. So and it's a pretty big one, and it's actually already fixed, and it got fixed for the keynote, but I didn't get it fixed for theaters. It's my fault. I was branched off. Whatever. It's okay. But yes, basically that sun was meant to move. So during the phases, and we actually did this back in the, maybe I can't mention, on another game anyways. We would do this, that certain parts in it, because again, it only happens over 30 minutes. Like, how much are you going to see the sun move in 30 minutes? Probably not a lot. But I can actually encourage that a little bit by just animating it. The sun is a real thing in Star Citizen. Like, it still blows my mind that it's actually there in the disc. We can move it around. We can also rotate the planet if we want. So what I wanted was in phase 1, it was actually morning. And in phase 2 was afternoon. And then in phase 3, the planet's looking so incredible at, everybody's seen the screenshots, but it's sunset, right? And then I wanted that sunset during phase 3. So to answer your question, yes, absolutely. But it won't be, it's not like a real day-night cycle. It is, as soon as I move the sun, it looks like night.
Well, the one thing to note as well is that we've not faked anything.
Yeah.
Even you look at the Good Doctor, there's a whole planet there with, you've got that tiny little map, that arena that's have everything, but it's all real. It's all like the PU. It's all there. So, day and night cycle, everything that's in the PU is totally possible in Theatre of War.
Yeah.
Okay, that's my question.
Cool.
Thank you. Sean, who is the voice of the mission briefer?
I know it almost. I actually don't know. No, I swear to you, I don't know. Who do you think it is?
Twitch chat was pretty convinced it was you.
I know it kind of. I was gonna say it sounds like me, but it's not. I promise you.
Yeah, all right.
It's not. I did
Who's
voice
next?
for a game though. You can look that up. That's fun.
Hey, yeah, just a quick question about where you've added new smaller zones to fight in. Will we be getting more close combat weapons?
Oh, yeah. Richard
like
wanted to talk
boarding
about this.
axes, entrenching tools.
Let's talk
even
about some
bats.
damage types and stuff. It'd be fun.
Well, we've got a lot of weapons that, when you look at the breakdown of FPS weapons across, the whole of the PU, we've got that standard foundation in terms of the, the classes, you say SMGs, snipers, the different loadouts. And then we've got the more exotic weaponry. So, we've just released the salvo last patch. But we've got a long roadmap of weapons that, because we've populated the kind of base weapons you'd expect from a modern military shooter. Now we're starting to get to the fun stuff. So we've got some really cool stuff. I can't talk about it today, but to answer your question, Yes.
Talk about the 3.8
We've
one?
got some really cool
We
stuff.
talk about the
Well,
3.8
thank you very
Well,
much.
we were in terms of 3.8, we've got the Lightning Bolt company that's already on the roadmap, and that's going to bring some really interesting gameplay that ties into the melee system and stun, and yeah, it's good.
Yeah, not to beat too much on it, but you really do need that environment to be able to bring those kind of weapon types online. Again, if you have these really exotic kind of ammo types and you don't rigorously play them, you're going to get some wackiness happening. So now that we've got these environments to be able to do this, I think, yeah, you'll see some fun stuff.
Yeah.
All right, thank you. We got time for one more question.
Really? Have I just got like...
Okay.
You talk.
My question is, can you use these concepts to create events in the PU?
Yes.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So it's interesting you say that. It's one of the great conversations I've had a couple times with Paul Reindell. And when he first heard about these, he goes, "Oh, this is cool, but just put it in the PU." Right? Yeah, that's what he said. He's put it in the PU. And I'm kind of with him on that. Here's the key. And actually, there's a Reddit thread that I saw that was perfect. And I can't remember exactly what it says, but it's basically like within the PU, it's like, wake up, go to thing, spawn your ship, get to the thing, get to the place, do the thing, get the thing, then shoot. In the war room, it's click, click, click. Oh, that's so stupid. And you're playing. It's basically 3 clicks and you're in. And playing and having that combat. Now, if we could integrate this into the world of the PU like it's happening on the planet and everything, I would do absolutely that. But right now, it's a standalone within matchmaking for leaderboards and everything like that. It's a little easier of an experience to give to you rather than putting a bunch of, basically putting a lot of stuff in front of you and the game mode itself.
I think the one thing to note as well is that obviously PU is the 50-player cap, and we're pulling all those 40 players into that kind of one location. And when we start to, push out further, in terms of the players online, you'll be able to experience that on a more regular basis. So it's absolutely a learning experience for us in terms of pulling everyone in straight out the gate, and it's only going to give us more information and more analytics to basically create those in the PU. Absolutely.
Right. So, and like I said in the talk, right, the eventuality is that the PU, gets like that, right, with server meshing, with server object container streaming. We're going to get there.
Absolutely.
And it has to be fun when we get there.
All right, thank you so much, guys. One final question. How did the Ursa have more kills than anything else?
It's the Buccaneer wins now. After a couple of rounds. But
the
Ursa's a really stable firing platform. That's one thing. The weapons that are on top are infantry shredders, right? They will just cream infantry. If you're using the remote turret in the Ursa, and you keep an eye on your back and front, you'll be fine. It's a very powerful spawn point, but the ships and the Animus and the railgun destroy it. So.
All right. Well, Sean, Richard, thank you so much. I'm sure we'll do another follow-up on Star Citizen Live or something sometime before the end of the year.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.